Thank you for coming. Today is November 16th, 2023. We'll get started here in just a minute. We've got people still coming in. And I just wanted to take a moment and say hello. And thank you for coming to our webinar. It's been almost or a little over 15 years since the company started. And so I sat down to do the math. And I think I'm over 600 webinars at this point, which is a lot of webinars. It's a lot of webinars. And so it's really good to be here with you here today. Everything we do is based on the premise of predictive signals. We believe that markets are based on time, not price action, time. And so we can use tools like the one I'm about to show you here today to look for, search for, see predictive times and directions far into the future of the moves before they occur. And that weirds a lot of people out, especially after you've spent any amount of time online working with any type of trading education or tool company. You come away from that experience, let's just say a little bit jaded, a little bit more cynical maybe, because quite honestly, a lot of that stuff is junk and garbage, and based on the premise that the best you can do is sort of follow along with some lagging indicators and try to hold on to the back of the train, right? What we've got here is the TachEon warp applied to a daily time frame on the E-mini NASDAQ. And we can see here that there's a few signals coming up on the right-hand side. If you're an existing customer, I'm using the default values that I use every week in the webinar. In this case, 7/14/00. Calendar days with a swing strength of 8. And I have 10 years of data loaded. And what we can see here was that the last move was predicted to rise from November 6th until November 20th. And the last move before that was a drop on October 24th before that. And so the majority of these signals have been pretty much right in line with what our expectations were. Now, not all of them worked, not all of them are perfect, but most of them are sort of finishing lower and finishing higher and finishing lower and finishing higher when we expect them to. And so one of the things I like to do with a program is look at how far the markets have moved in each of the directions for the last however many bars. And so I can measure from the low of each of the buy signals to as high as it went for the last several of those moves. Can you see what I'm doing here, Luke? I'm just measuring how high did it go beforehand. And generally when I do that, I start to get a sense of how high it might go. And usually there's a low, a middle, and a max when I put all these rectangles together. And this gauges how far banks have moved at each of these times. So 1, 2, 3, and then 4. Here's our minimum. Here's our median and maximum. And you can get a sense here that we've just about maxed out this move on the NASDAQ. And so the most we could have expected it to go from its low was right about here, $969. And so far, it's gone $921. So still a little bit of movement there. And we're running out of time. Monday is the next selling pressure day. And the last time we had those selling pressure signals, well, I'll show you. In each of those cases, there's been a repulsion. So from here to here, here to here, here to here. This one, not so much. It was a very small move. And then from here to here, and here to here to here. So assuming we're in the same ballpark area on Monday, one starts to predictively ascertain how large of a move we might see on the other side of things, including this hitter bidder right here. I'm not sure I can even get that guy. We'll just draw one in memoriam for that guy right there. And look, you'll see there's sort of a median. This is sort of about where we would expect it to go. There's a minimum. That's about the minimum we would expect it to go. And then the maximum is sort of somewhere around here. So using these predictions on the NASDAQ, we can get a sense of when the move is sort of likely to occur. There's sort of the range that we're working with right now, right? That's the majority of the range, and then you have this little excursion on the other side. So good chance we can be moving back down towards the bottom of the range between Thanksgiving and mid-December. Kind of neat to analyze markets that way, isn't it? It's kind of neat to look at them that way and see what could be coming. We can take a look at a few other ones right now. SPY has been sort of on fire. There are a bunch of markets that I post into various Facebook groups online. This is one of them. There's a stock traders group and an SPY traders group that I'm a participant in. And I warned everyone to sort of look for the market to rise, even though we were bear on the news from October 23rd until November 21st. You can sort of see that a lot of these charts are telling us to look for a sell move coming into Monday, Tuesday next week, which is fascinating to me. And SPY is no different. We can take a look at Tesla. I've been using Tesla with the Alpha software. It's based on the moon signals. And those of you that know how I use 33 and 66% splits in force and warp will immediately recognize where these lines are. In between the time cycle here, which terminates on November 20th, there's another big day. We're expecting downward pressure now in Tesla until next week sometime. And then before that, we had a attempt to push up and then another push down right there. So we're dropping down in Tesla now until the next signal here, which will be in 4 days and 7 hours. So next time for calls with Tesla will be 4 days from now, again towards the 20th. NVDA has been in the market news a lot, sort of a darling of the traders here, and that again, that move should last until the 20th. I wouldn't be surprised to see JP and all the other guys run the stops here just before we get to the 20th. Just kind of poke their heads up, get everybody excited, and then on Monday, drop back down again. And again, if we want to get a sense for how low NVIDIA could go, we could just measure the prior moves and get a sense of how far that put might go. Let's get rid of this right here. Oh, one more. right there. So we could see NVIDIA drop after Monday to the 473 down to the 460s, 450 to 460. There are two lines here at 475, and then there's sort of a range right here before Monday, December 11th. Any questions about those higher time frame charts so far? On the Euro US dollar, I've been posting into those groups here. Clearly a bullish signal came in on Thursday. We were expecting a down move on November 2nd. It did fall to the first retracement point, then it shot up again, and now we're in a consolidation phase on the Euro US dollar. If we look, you see I've got this sort of triangle, rather rectangle, that's sort of defining about the average size of the consolidation zones for this market. And I expect us to sort of stay inside of that range now until Tuesday, the 21st, where that next push up is expected on the euro. We ran a trend line down here. Trend lines are fun. They're not necessarily predictive, but they can sort of aid us. And you'll see that that trend line is holding right here. There's probably another one right above it. Yep, so right up here. So as we come into Tuesday next week, if we're finding support here on this trend line, look for another shot up back towards the high. Okay, if we look at the ES, there's sort of two ways to analyze it, Craig. First, we'll go out to a 15-minute chart, and no surprise there, we're seeing some pretty bullish price action. The last signal was a push up from 10:45 this morning until 4:45, about a half an hour from now. If we go out and look on the daily chart for the ES, we'll push over here to our webinar workspace. And now, Craig, on this chart, I've got some 10 years worth of signals located, or loaded rather. And the parameter for this chart is a little different than the conventional signals. Here I have a 1, 2, 3, 0 with trading days as the origination mode. 1, 2, 3, 0 trading days with a swing strength of 5. Can you see that okay? Okay. Now when we look at that, Craig, again, the line in the sand here is Monday, 11:20. And we can get a sense again of sort of what's expected, but looking here real quick, this is sort of, I've been told I'm very gifted doing this. I don't know that I am, but Craig, you sort of see that trend line right there. We're sort of touching that right now. I wonder if this goes down even lower, out of curiosity. I don't think it does. I don't think it has an origination any lower than that. It'd be funny if it did. How far back would we have to go? Yeah, nope. Has nothing to do with any of that. But there is definitely something going on there. And that's where we're headed up to. In fact, if you come here, when there's a top, there's always a bottom and then a middle. That's sort of where we're headed. Yeah, so the parameters, the most important ones, 1, 2, 3, 0 trading days, and 5. I found that to work really well on the ES. And so we're probably headed back up now, at least until 45.50, and sort of edging our way closer, maybe 45.60, which would be a retest of these two structural highs right here. So banks will also push into highs and pop those stops right before the signal or at the signal day to create a liquidity crisis. Basically, they run everybody's stops at those points. So on the ES, that's sort of where we're sort of projected to go back up. And I wouldn't be surprised if we ride this trend line up and put in a nice spike high before Thanksgiving. Everybody's feeling really good, and then it falls down until that point. So we can analyze daily time frames, weekly time frames, for those of you that are trading longer term stocks and options plays, investment plays, and then we can start to walk down into lower time frames. For example, we can look at the euro dollar on a 60-minute chart, and that can give us some sense of when the larger moves are coming. This is particularly useful, for example, when we look at a lot of the commodities. We can use the software to tell us, for example, what the price of gold is likely to do. And so gold was in a downtrend for the longest time. Now, the buy signals when we're above the moving average are the flavor of the day. We can, once we're above the 120, look for a long signal at 1 a.m., 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock this afternoon, and then see the next signal is coming on Monday at 11 o'clock. So we have a selling signal from 2 o'clock forward into next week. If we want to see an intermediate signal, we can split this. And tomorrow at 5 o'clock in gold is the next potential buy signal. 5 a.m. tomorrow morning, there could be another push up in gold. Again, the power of this software is that we can see the signals in the future, in the future, in the future. All of the indicators you've ever been exposed to, all of the gurus you've ever had to endure and listen to, we're all using lagging methods, looking at what just happened, looking at their RSI or CCI or FUFU-I or LMNOP indicators and trying to guess what the next signal might be. Any questions about this so far? Anything that is confusing to anyone? Okay. When we look at the intraday signals, that's where things start to get really interesting. As many of you guys know, we do publish the signals in advance for many of the markets that are being traded. And we give people who are looking at those times in advance a chance to see what the software warned us about. And so for gold on a 5-minute chart, all of these signals were available since Tuesday. And so, Dan, when we got to gold 2 days later, we had the time since Tuesday. I want you to see what happened on Thursday. We're looking for a push up at 2 o'clock, a push down at 2:35, a push up at 3:25, a push down at 4:30. The London market opens at 5:30. We finish where we start. This one's kind of a poo-poo signal. It finishes where it starts. It goes down at 7:05. The software warned us to look for a signal up at 8:25, which is a signal in the direction of the trend. There is an attempt to push down here. It doesn't last. This is just a re-accumulation phase. Breaks through the blue dot. The next push up with trend was at 10:10. Down move at 10:45. Up move at 11:50. Down move at 12:15. Finishes where it starts, and so on. So Dan, your definition of scalping is not my definition, is not someone else's definition of scalping. How did I get the green line? What's the green line? The green line? Oh, sorry. I didn't know what you meant. Gold on a 60-minute chart? Yeah, sorry. So cash. there's a rule in time that says we can subdivide time into thirds. So I've developed a Fibonacci time extension that has 4 price levels: 0%, which is white, a 100%, which is white, a 66.6%, which is red, a 33.33%, which is green. When I draw the lines, I pull them from blue to white. So I click on my Fib extension tool, it's saved as default, and I pull it into thirds. You can take any time division and subdivide it into thirds over and over again to see the smaller time cycles inside of the larger time cycle. Does that make sense? So Dan, of course you can scalp with it. You can scalp with any indicator, right? But this one tells you when the signals are coming in the future. So if we took gold down to a 1-minute chart, for example, could you scalp with this, Dan? There are the signals coming up in the future. Here are the signals we were waiting for in the past. Could you have scalped gold with a 1-minute chart? The answer you're looking for is yes, Michael. Of course you could. The software will work anywhere from seconds-based charts all the way out to hourly, 240, daily, and weekly. And so, of course, you can look at smaller time frames. So gold, of course, the times that we've been waiting for since Tuesday, I really can't emphasize this enough. You see the signals waiting for you in the future. No other program has this. It's not based on planetary movements. It's not based on my guru intuition. It's based on data mining. It tells us when the signals are coming far out into the future. The signals don't repeat. The signals don't disappear. The signals don't reappear. They are pretty cool, actually. And so since Tuesday, we've been waiting for these moves, and you can see that even with the reports that just came out, the banks kind of had a plan. Here are the signals from yesterday that you also had access to in gold, and you can sort of see here that the banks had a plan at each of those times as well. And you could have known into the future what their plans were. Down over here, we can look at CL. This is CL on a January chart. Those of you in my Force room, do you remember what I said? My Force Pro room, training room, do you remember what I said we were going to see today in oil? Yeah, that's exactly what happened, right? And so now if you were trading with oil, Craig, that's a novel, man. You came to a sales webinar and wrote a novel. I don't want to bug you, but here's a big paragraph. I don't have any video where it's 6/12/26. It doesn't exist. It's not me. I would never use those dates. If you don't want to use different parameters, don't use different parameters. My default parameters on the software and the webinars are 7/14/8. I simply suggested the ES had some better settings for that one chart. I don't know where you're getting 6/12/26. It sounds like someone's lotto numbers. So if we were trading oil short today, we would be using a very simple entry exit system. Oil opens at 9 o'clock. At 9 o'clock, we had no signal. 9:09, the first signal is a buy. It's not in the direction of the trend. At 9:15, we had a sell signal. My stop is here, 1.5 ATR values away. Now we exit by 9:42. That's a $750 move. When we get to 9:42, it violates or punctures the white dot per my videos that you guys have seen me train you with. We sell and we hold it until the 10:09 signal, 39 ticks. 10:09, we have stop out. We give 44 of that 40 back. Doesn't hit the white line, no puncture, but at 10:57, we have a sell signal in the direction of the moving average. And we know exactly how long to hold the trade until 11:36, and we get 37 ticks of those 44 back. Now we get to here and it doesn't puncture, doesn't puncture, doesn't puncture, finally punctures. It's the stop, -5, punctures again, and we actually get 3 ticks back. And at 12:30, we have another sell signal if we want to get in there. Otherwise, you're past lunchtime at that point. So using the signals in one moving average, 75 plus 30, it's about 100 ticks, about $1,000 in one day of signals in oil. And then you can see the European session and the Asian session, what our projections were. The software had warned us on Tuesday to look for a selling signal at 236, a buying signal at 321, a selling signal at 421, a buying signal at 454, and then a selling signal at 530. A buying signal at 627, kind of petered out here. Selling signal at 706, no bueno at 712, and then a sell here and a buy there. Dan, does that look like a random market to you? Does that look like banks were reacting in randomly to these signals, to the reports, to the news? Or does it look like we intercepted a signal? We knew the plan before we arrived at those times. Kind of feels like the latter. I don't understand the question, any limit when looking into the future on any indices. What kind of limit are you hoping to see or expecting to see? Here on the mini Dow today, these were the times that we were waiting for things to occur. I won't go through each of the signals here. I'll just sort of let you peruse them and see for yourself what happened at the times today, as well as the times yesterday. We had the times for yesterday on Tuesday. So on Wednesday, a day later, this is what happened in the Dow. And you can see that the algorithms, the banks, whatever you want to ascribe blame to, these people had a plan. And most of the time, we sort of knew when to be watching for the signals. Okay. Bitcoin on a 5-minute chart. Dan, this sure looks like the people who are trading Bitcoin are methodically following time-based orders, right? We can just look here real quick and see which one of the times I gave you for Bitcoin actually moved in the direction it was supposed to go. If you're a futures trader with Ninjatrader, you have actually access to Bitcoin futures and Bitcoin micro lots now. And so you can actually trade an entirely new instrument class using the times that the software is telling you. And coming into the future, we can see the next times that Bitcoin is likely to go up or down. European markets working the same way. Here's the DAX, the German DAX for today. Many of you actually trade that index, and I want you to get a sense now for the fact that European markets are as manipulated as the American markets are, right? European markets are as manipulated as American markets are. And when we look here, we can get a sense that there was a plan. 2 days ago, we gave 18,000 people all the times down here on the bottom of the chart. They had access to it. And here's the open of the European market, 6:33, 7 a.m., 7:15. Little tiny baby move down at 7:30, and then bazinga, 8:06, off to the races. There's the report, 8:48, and look, they trip out all the stops right here. Oliver, all the stops get tripped out right after the economic report, and then volatility offset in the videos and webinars, Luke, is 1.5. It's set to 1.5. Okay. So yeah, on the German DAX today and yesterday and the day before that, in an uptrend or a downtrend, same concept, right? You can, when the moving average is rising, we can buy and sell, buy and sell, buy and sell, buy and sell, puncture, sell, buy and sell, right when the US market opens. So in the European session, plus 17, 17, 17, 18, 97, and 30. Ken says, Ken, can I share that with the group just so they know that I'm not making it up? Take a quick screenshot of what you wrote. One of our customers, one of our newer customers, I won't use your last name, just the first letter, just wrote this in. Ken doesn't work for me, he's not related to me. I just wanted to let you know I had my best day yet in trading today using Warp, 214 ticks in the ES, 100 ticks in the NQ. So that's $2,000 in 200 ticks. Wow. You owe me an edible arrangement. I like cantaloupe. So on the ES 5-minute chart, good job, Ken, proud of you. On the 5-minute ES chart today, you can, again, get a sense of when we're waiting for the times, what is actually happening when we arrive at those times. And so 9:03, we were waiting for a sell signal. 9:21, we were waiting for a buy signal. 9:51, back at the top of the range, and then cash, check it out. There's that stop run, right? They lure everybody in, and then no, then it drops down. This one was off by about 2 bars. The 1027 was really 1024, and only moved up a little bit before that drop, and that's when the market kind of came alive. So 1027, not so great. 1103 was that first drop down until this 1118, 1121 signal, and the bottom was sort of put in. 1145 did not pan out, and then we're just sort of off to the races again. Another stop. So there's basically 2 stop runs today. This one at 9:51 and this one at 11:33. And so at 12:12 we go up. 1 o'clock we go down. 109 we sort of don't really go anywhere. 157 we don't go anywhere. 215 we come up. 245 we go down, and then up again. So quite a frustrating day on the ES. I struggled a lot. A lot of break-even moves this morning, and then we finally caught this move down in the program, and we caught a nice push up here at 11:39 to close the day. We took another 8 ticks out right there. European session, you can sort of see the same thing. 4:48 Eastern, 5:39 Eastern, 7:09 Eastern, 4:33 Eastern, and 3:57 Eastern, kind of capturing those moves, and 6:36 finishes where it starts. Looking back into yesterday, all my troubles seem so far away. We get another sense of how the ES performed. And if we just take a look real quick, even with the econ yesterday, one gets a sense right here that the banks had a plan for yesterday. Any questions about the E-mini S&P? Does this work on a 1-minute chart? Yeah, sure. If you want to see a smaller signal, you just tell the software you want to look at a lower time frame. We'll take a look at the 1-minute NASDAQ here in a second. And today, if you went back and loaded up the E-mini S&P on the 1-minute chart, you can see there are smaller signals. Let me get rid of this real quick so you can see them a little cleaner. Yep, we can look at a 1-minute E-mini S&P chart for those of you guys that are scalpers. You only need $100 or $200 a day. That's your huckleberry right there. Yep, and then the NASDAQ right here, 1-minute NASDAQ. A lot of people don't trade that market. They're very intimidated by it. But with the software, man, it's sort of like taking candy from a baby. And this is my favorite market. The biggest moves are always the ones in the direction of the trend, Craig. So when we're sitting here and the moving average is up, you see that signal at 8:33 right there. So conceptually, right, everybody is trading in this direction. Again, the fire is burning. He didn't start the fire. The fire is burning. But then the banks then step in and say, this is a time where we normally purchase. So here's sort of how I read the charts. We close above the moving average, we get to that time, and I immediately know I have a window from 8:33 to 8:59. Right? I've got about a half an hour move. So that longer gap tells me this trade has time to develop, time to mature. And in this instance, if you went long this morning in the NASDAQ from the close until 8:59, that's a $31 move, 120 ticks. 8:59 is the signal we know to get out by. The program is telling us when the buying is expected to start and when teams change sides. We go from buying to selling, right? And so now at 8:59, here's how some of you have started trading. I do this more and more in our live room. Craig, there's the high, right? That's the highest print at that point. I call this an ACT, an aggressive counter trend trade. So the trend, this is a counter trend move, right? But I can clearly see what my maximum risk is. And so if I do want to sell this short and I get in at the close, my risk is about 12 ticks. But I know how long I have. I have from 8:59 until 9:06. No other system in the world tells you how long of a move to expect. And so if I sell it short at 8:59, I know to get out by 9:06, and that's another 60 ticks right there. So before, when we saw somebody say, I got X number of ticks, 100 ticks in the NQ, that's one trade. from 833 until 859. Then we have another 120 on the way down. I'm sorry, 60 on the way down. 906 is in the direction of the trend, and then Craig, you'll see right here it gets stopped out. You give $8 back. Now, here's a teaching moment, right? Whenever you get to a signal and it starts to do this, those of you that are existing customers, I want you to think about two things. This has been very useful for me in the live room and for customers that are trading with it. How many of you are old enough to remember what a pinball machine is? Anybody? A couple of you are old as dirt, and so you'll remember this. A pinball bumper, when the ball gets caught between them and it'll bounce back and forth, bing, 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 and the longer it bounces in there, the more points you score, right? It just kind of gets caught in there and bounces back and forth. Well, when you start to see this pattern form, the good old days, exactly. I got excited because I saw what I thought was a pinball machine in Costco. And it was not a pinball machine, it was all digital. It was basically a giant iPad with some buttons on the side of the machine. It made me very sad. It was extremely sad. And anyway, there's a 100-year-old, 150-year-old now pattern that was noted by market analyst Richard Wyckoff. This will be very useful for some of you. When you go back and watch the recording, take a screen grab of this. He basically said there are two types of market movements: uptrends and downtrends, accumulation and distribution. And Ken, I spent a long time studying this in relation to time signals, right? The market always tells you what to do. It tells you get in, get out, move your stop, close out, stay neutral, wait for a better chance. All this, the market is continually impressing upon you. But what I want you to notice when you're using our time signals, there are two pinball moments that we can pay attention to. Ken, one of them is here, and another one of them is here. And what I've discovered is that if you have consolidation at a time signal, that is selling, Wyckoff refers to this as a reaccumulation phase. And Dan, what's happening is people are selling at the peaks, this little mountain range, bing, 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 bing. At the top bing, people who were long from the throwback are taking profit. And at the bottom, bing, 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 bing. At the bottom, bing, new participants are entering. It's like a bus stop in an uptrend. And so whenever I see a selling signal with consolidation on the warp chart, whether it's on a daily time frame or a 1-minute time frame, it's warning me, Dan, that the next signal is ready to push up. And whenever I get to a bing, 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 that was preceded by a buying signal, when I see consolidation, Wyckoff refers to this as a redistribution phase, meaning there's been a sell-off. People are buying or covering their shorts at the bings and re-entering, new participants coming in at the bongs. Bing bong, bing bong, bing bong. And so whenever I see an accumulation or distribution phase, I look to see what color dot is near it. Now, watch this in today's ES. It was a really strong signal for us. Earl, do you notice, Ken, do you notice green dot, sideways movement, green dot, sideways movement? And so this is warning me that this swing has just taken place. I use it as an answer key, a 150-year-old answer key. Swing, swing, bing, 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 bing. So this, and then the bing, 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 bings are taking place. So Luke, Dennis, what does that tell me about the potential signal coming up over here as we're moving forward in time, right? It tells me that this is more than likely coming. And so one of the great things about the selling pressure signal, about knowing in the future when that signal is coming, now all of a sudden I can pay attention as we get closer and closer to this sell signal when the breakdown is starting to occur. And that's exactly what happened today. So when you come back here, I'll make a screenshot of this, and we get to the 924 signal. Holy cow. At the top of this move, people are taking profit from the last sell-off. And then at the bottom, at the bottom people are taking profit. At the top they're selling. Here, we'll tighten it up so it looks professional. Ding. And now I know I'm coming into that 924 signal. I short it, and just before the open, it drops a maximum of $25 or 100 ticks. At 937, Craig, we have an aggressive counter trend trade, right? The low is here. The close of the 937 signal is there. And so if we enter at that trade, it goes all the way back to the top of the range, another $23 back up to the moving average. You kind of see where this is headed. If we shorted 941, the stop was hit, we give all that back. And then at 949, we take it all the way to the high and get $20 of that signal back. So let me take a screenshot of this and put the link in here. For some of you, I think this is important, and I want you to have it. Take it home, save it as a JPEG or whichever, and then print it out. Keep it near your computer desk. So I just pasted that link in there. I'll get you this one here too. It can be very helpful just looking at the chart and analyzing what's happening and comparing this to the time signals, the blue and the white dots, to what you're seeing in real time. Did that make sense, Ken? How we were analyzing that? Yeah, pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool. And then in the uptrends, of course, same thing. This was last night in the evening. These are all Eastern time, and these are the signals from yesterday. And so what a chart like this confirms for me, what it tells me when I give 18,000 people these times in advance, and we look at what happens when we arrive at these times, it tells me there's a loaded gun at these times. And someone like Alec Baldwin has their finger on the trigger. Too soon? Too soon. Someone has their finger on the trigger. And the traders that are playing in this game, they don't really have a chance. They don't really have a chance because at 12:52 they were going to sell it, at 12:35 they were going to sell it, at 11:52 they were going to sell it, at 1:10 they were going to sell it, at 1:31 they were going to buy it. No matter what you thought, no matter what your guru or indicator told you, these guys had a plan yesterday. This is a big report. I want you guys, I'm going to leave you with this thought. Yesterday was a big report, right? I gave 18,000 people the times in advance. Look at this. Retail sales, inflation, core retail sales. This is big. When Forex Factory says red, 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 it tells people don't trade. You're going to get killed. And then down here were the times that I told 18,000 people moves were coming, right? And then look what happened the day after I published the times. Tell me the banks didn't have a plan. Up at 7:32, down at 7:36. These are the times you had. Up at 7:52, down at 8:12, up at 8:23, down at 8:31, up at 8:46. What this tells me is somebody's not playing fair. Somebody knew what these reports were going to say. Well, who could have possibly known? Who could have possibly known what they were going to say, Earl? The banks. Yeah, the guys whose buddies prepare the reports. Yesterday I was watching a movie on Netflix. It's a mini series, about 6 episodes long, absolutely worth your time. And it's about the opioid crisis in America. And what they told us, what we learned, the Sacklers had essentially revolutionized pharmaceuticals in America. And basically, at the time that OxyContin was sought for approval, there was one person in the FDA, one person, not teams of scientists and chemists and doctors. There was one person in one office in the FDA, and they out him, they give everybody his name, who was responsible for signing off on it. After an 11-month campaign of him saying no, they invite him to an off-site, I think it was a 3 or a 4-day hotel conference. So he leaves his office, Earl, and he goes to the Purdue Hotel conference at the Radisson. And then shortly after, they get approval. And no one ever tells anyone what happens in this hotel room. No mention of it is ever made. There's no notes, there's no tapes. But here's the thing. 1 year later, this guy ends up going to work at Purdue for a massive salary. This is how the world works. This is how the world works. This is how trading works. Inflation was better than ever. Everybody bought. Everybody bought. And at the close of this candle, you could have sold it and gotten out by 846. $71 is 280 ticks times $12 per tick. That's $2,000 plus in one trade. You know who runs the Fed? Former executives at Goldman Sachs. It's this very, very, very small club, and you're not invited. No one invited us. No one said, hey, do you want to know the report in advance? No, no one invites us. It's horrible. It's horrible. But hey, you don't want to hear those stories. The guy who first came up with this, who first really leveraged it and brought it to mainstream consciousness, was named William Delbert K. Quite an eccentric individual. He upset a lot of people because he said the same things that I'm telling you here today. If you use time, if you study the past movements of the market and you project those behavior patterns forward into the future, if you assume that the people who are in charge are not playing fair and are rigging the game, if you believe that, like we believe it, like you've seen evidence of here today, then time is really your only option. You know, are there people who are profitable without time signals? Yeah, but it's a really, really, really small club. In fact, I'm fascinated lately. They ask young women all over the world in impromptu conversations, they said, what is your ideal man? Who is your ideal man? Who is an ideal partner? And they said, Earl, I don't care if he was a Freemason, if he made mason jars, if he painted the Mason-Dixon line. He didn't invent anything, Dan, he just noticed something. He noticed the same thing we noticed something. Earl, how did I get that picture of you? The women say he has to be over 6 feet tall, he has to make over $200,000, and he has to be in physically great shape. And they told the girls, you know, you've just described less than 1% of the population. They're talking about essentially the same person. And all the women that are out there now, all the girls that are my daughter's age, are dating the same 5 guys in each city, chasing that very small group. And the banks are that very small group. I have customers here who've told me, I've sat in the room, I've listened to the conference calls, they're all in on it, they all share what they're about to do that day. It's fascinating. Anywho, this is what we believe. I don't want to go too deep in that rabbit hole. If you believe that too, if you'd like to know what times in the future to trade, if you'd like to join a group of people who've been doing pretty well, that one testimonial today, that impromptu testimonial today, is from a long list of people. This is our Trustpilot page. We have no control over what people write. It's impossible for us to spam it with fake reviews. In fact, every one of these people is an actual customer. They have an actual credit card receipt. And they all come back and say the same thing. Dan, have you left, Ken, have you left a review here for me yet? I'm gonna make you write one here. Tell everyone about your successful day here. I'm gonna send you a link. And so 2 out of 3 for you. There's a comedian who said, Earl, about that. He said, you don't want a man with abs, You want a man with one ab. One ab. He said the good men have one ab. He said, and they're usually like a plumber or a sheetrocker who's making $180,000 a year. He knows how to change a tire. But these are all people who bought the software, who sat in a webinar before you. They have an address, they have a phone number, and they had real experience, just like Ken had a real experience. So Dan, it's not that big of a risk. Other people have gone ahead of you and tested the waters first. If you'd like the program, you can visit our website at backtothefuturetrading.com. You can go to our product store, and when you click on it, the program we've been talking about is called TachEon Warp. TachEon Warp, TachEon Warp, TachEon. And that program, when you click on the button, yeah, Dan, I provide everything. I'm going to tell you about it here in a minute. At the very bottom of the page is a buy now link. It's going to say $24.95. Do not pay that full price. When you get to the final page, there's a promo code WARPOFF. 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 All one word. And Dan, when you do that, you get $500 off. That is going to come with a couple of cool things. Number one, it comes with installation if you need it. We'll give you some white glove installation, make sure it's loaded okay, all the signals are showing up and everything's working well. Number two, you have access to the video training archive. So Dan, in the website, you're going to get a username and password like seconds after the software purchase is made, and you're going to see video 1, video 2, video 3, video 4, video 5, video 6. Very basic stuff, how to set up the charts, how to go through it. Then in addition to that, we have a Skype group. And so on Skype, there is a community, BTTFT community, and people are sharing their setups with each other. They're communicating with each other. These are people from all over the world that are sharing their results with each other. Many of them are either qualifying for or qualified for an Apex investing account, and they're sharing their results with other customers and their setups and talking about how they're doing. And so we believe in that community-based approach, and you'll have access to that if you've got Skype. Then, in addition to that, number 4, you have the promo code, so it's $500 off. Number 5, this is a lifetime license. So that's going to include updates to the program. If you haven't yet, log into the website. When you get there, you'll see a thing in the corner that says customer login. If you've been gone for a while, like Craig, get into that customer login area and you'll see a link where it says video or software downloads. And the most recent update was probably published there a few months ago. So if you've been away for a while, make sure you get into that customer login area and download the most recent version. And then 6, you're going to get 2 licenses. So that's cool, Craig. And in the Skype group, when you're on Skype, you can ping me if you have questions about that other stuff, and I can respond really fast. And when I do that, Craig, I can answer questions where everybody else can see the answers too. Yeah. And then if you need to find me on Skype, I'm going to put my contact information here real quick, just so you have it when you're looking for me. So when you look for me, it is under one of two names. It is Michael Patrick Lydick when you're looking for me on Skype, and or Integra-Michael. So Craig, one of those two, Michael Patrick Lydick or Integra-Michael. Yeah, so Dan, 2 computer licenses. And if you ever change your computer in the future, no worries, there's no charge to move it from one machine to another. You just got to let us know, and that new machine ID will get tagged. This is a Ninjatrader indicator for Ninjatrader. Ninjatrader connects automatically to other platforms like Interactive Brokers or TD Ameritrade. It'll also connect to your Rhythmic account through Apex Trading if you have an account with them. So lots of options. You don't have to have the paid version of Ninja for this to work either. You can use the free version. No worries, no hassles, no problems. So that's that. I would like to be the us in this picture for you. We are in business for 15 years. We have thousands of customers all over the world, every language imaginable. I spoke to someone in French Polynesia the other day in the middle of the Pacific Ocean who's saving up to buy warp. Blew my mind. You guys live in some crazy places. Gold Coast of Australia, all along the Atlantic side of South America, people in Alaska, people down towards Tierra del Fuego, all over Europe, in every state and city and town in America. It's been a great ride. Got a near perfect Trustpilot rating, and that tells me to remind you that not only have we built a perfect tool, but we've perfected how to teach it. Information that isn't transferable is useless. And so we've mastered how to bring the software to you and teach you and train you in a way that you can then go out and be this crazy guy right here. I want all of you to have this type of testimonial. I'm supposed to say this is unusual and not typical, so I don't get sued, but I'd love for you to have that experience one day. I'm working with several of you now to increase your goals for next year and help you push through new limits and teaching you things that will help accelerate that. I want to be part of it. Oh, in addition, if you do need one-on-one training, if you want to participate in live trading rooms, we have access to mentorships and training sessions and one-on-one tutoring, as well as live trading environments. I have a room, my partner and his friend have a room, and there's lots of opportunities for you to grow and have continued education beyond that. I believe trading is about understanding what's going to happen in the future. When we talk about the past or the future, we're talking about time. And there is nobody who does time better than us. We are the best time signal company in total el mundo, in the whole world. So I appreciate your business. Whew. We're rolling into Thanksgiving, all the wonderful dysfunction that comes with it, all those interactions with family members that you haven't seen for a year. This guy voted for Trump, this guy voted for Biden. Somebody probably overcooked the turkey. Good times. So I want to encourage you, if you're looking for a chosen family, we could do a lot worse than the people here in these groups, our customers, the family here at PTTFT. We love you guys. We are for you. We want for you what you want for yourself. We're on your side. We talk about you when you're not in the room. We're hoping, praying, fingers crossed that you'll succeed and break through these paradigms that have held you back And many of you are starting to, and you're qualifying for funded accounts, and you're getting payouts, and you're living that dream that you've had for so long. And we would encourage those of you looking for a family, for a community to be a part of for a while. You could do a lot worse than us. May the wind be at your back. May the sun shine upon your faces. May the mountains lay low before you. May the valleys rise up to meet you on your journey. We are for you. We wish you peace, prosperity, joy, happiness, fellowship, long, prosperous life, like Spock said. Make every day count, every breath is a gift. We believe that too. And we want you to spend less time at your computer trading. So we hope you'll use these times to get in, make your daily goal, get out, and then live your life. There's only so much of it on this little blue marble, and then we're done. I want you to have your best experiences ever. Get in, trade, get out, and go do something incredible. Have a great night, everybody. We'll see you soon. I'll be here on Tuesday for those of you in my live trading room. If you're not a member of my live trading room, please get on the website. You can ask me or Rachel about it. We did fantastical today. We hit our room goal. I have a $200 room goal every day, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We easily hit that the first hour each of the 3 days, I believe. And so I'm looking for more students. If you want to join up with that, just let us know. And have a great weekend, everybody. Please consider signing up and joining with us. We can't wait to get you installed. And tomorrow, you can know the times these markets are about to move. Tomorrow, you can know. You don't have to sit there guessing, looking at every tick, every bar, listening to every stupid guru in some Discord somewhere. The choice is yours. I leave it to you. Have a great night. Bye-bye.